Hello friends! The seasons have changed and the year is finally coming to an end. This year has been very different and challenging for nearly everyone, and so I'm sure many of you out there listening are glad to see it go. But I also know that this particular time of year, the holiday season, is normally a source of joy and light for a lot of people, and so I hope that whatever you do or don't celebrate, you're able to still relax a bit and find some happiness as the year wraps up. Breathe a sigh of relief that you made it this far, and remind yourself that there's only a little longer to go before we enter a brand new year with brand new possibilities. Now, I know some of my friends sometimes scold me for being overly optimistic, but I think it's important to hang on to some degree of hope and optimism no matter what happens. Otherwise, well, what else is there to hang on to, you know? So today, I want to share with you a holiday story from when I was a bit younger and losing some hope, and a dear friend tried to help bring it back a bit. I say tried because at the time, I didn't fully appreciate or understand this gesture, but looking back, it was and is incredibly meaningful and uplifting. I don't really remember my birth parents. I grew up an orphan and was moved around a lot in my childhood, and once I was old enough to be put out on my own, I kept moving around because that was my only option, especially once I started to outlive the people around me. But I don't think of this as a bad thing, because instead of one singular family, one set of parents, I made family and friends all over the place at lots of different times. I got to meet people from all walks of life with all sorts of different values and beliefs. When I was younger, though, most of the folks I met celebrated Christmas, and so I grew up believing in Santa Claus for quite a while. Now, if there's any little ones listening to this episode, you may want to have them leave the room for a bit. Or maybe not. It's not my intent to crush any beliefs telling this story. Quite the opposite, actually. But anyway, like many children, I believed in Santa. And like many children, at some point, some older children cruelly informed me that Santa wasn't real, and that I was foolish for thinking he was. They told me that it was impossible for one person to fly around the world delivering gifts to every house in a single night, and that parents and adults were actually the ones leaving gifts on Christmas Eve. Needless to say, I, like many children, was crushed. At that time in my life, I was living in a place with several children and a handful of adults, and one of these adults was an especially kind man who was known for being witty and funny and almost always smiling. I don't think I told him outright what happened, what the other kids had said, but he got word of it anyway, and came up with a plan to help me feel better. That year, I got a letter from Santa himself. I'll admit I was skeptical, a little worried that maybe it was some sort of prank to make me feel even worse, but I read it anyway. And I'm glad I did, because even to this day, I still remember what it said, more or less, and that means I can share it with you. It said, "Dear Fairlee, a writer once said there are 4 stages in life. You believe in Santa, you don't believe in Santa, you become Santa, you look like Santa. But actually, there is a 5th. You meet Santa. After hundreds of years and visiting tens of millions of children, it is easy for me to tell when a child is about to enter the 2nd stage. I've known you were close for the last few years. However, although you are wonderfully wise for your age, you still don't know everything about me. Even your elders and ancestors don't, although they know more. In the sense that I no longer walk about and leave gifts in my physical body as I once did, it's true. I'm not real. But in other, more important ways, I am very real, even more real than you are. For a while, there won't be any more gifts left by the fireplace, and the cookies won't be eaten. But don't be sad. We will meet again when you are older and even wiser. Until then, Whenever you do something for someone without expecting anything in return, that will be me, working through you. And whenever you need me, simply think of me, and I will be there. Until we meet again, Santa Claus. Like I said before, I didn't quite understand all of it at the time, but it did help me feel a little better, and I could tell it was important. And now that I'm much older, and hopefully a teensy bit wiser, I think the message that my friend imparted to me in that letter is one that still rings true today in these uncertain times. When we're young, we take comfort in big, impossible symbols and metaphors, Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, magic in general, and use them to process the world. Then when we get older and learn all sorts of complicated, troublesome things like war and politics and science and taxes, it can be easy to feel hopeless and overwhelmed because the big impossible symbols we had so much faith in for so long are suddenly so distant and intangible. They don't feel real anymore, and the things that are real are frankly kind of disappointing. But the thing is, those symbols are just that, symbols. They stand for much bigger, more beautiful things like hope and love and kindness and joy and imagination. And those things are real and always will be, even if we can't always see them or lose sight of them. It's just a little harder to remember without the big, beautiful, oversimplified fictions of our childhoods. But I'd encourage you to try hard to find examples of these good things, friends, and to hold on to them. There is as much good in reality as there is bad, as long as you're able to look for it, and the best part is, the more real good you find and pull into your life, the more fiction you'll be able to find too, and put back out into the world for others to find. And isn't that just a lovely thought? Happy holidays, friends. See you next time. Halfway Human House is written and produced by Max Teachout. The voice of Fairlee is Max Teachout. The theme song is Ukulelean by Gideon Freudmann of CelloBop Music, with additional songs also by Gideon Freudmann. To stay updated on future episodes, follow us on Instagram at Halfway Human House, or subscribe on YouTube, and consider supporting the show on Patreon for exclusive bonus content. If you have a question you'd like Fairlee to answer in a future episode, leave it in the comments below, or send an email to halfwayhumanhouse@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.